Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name's Rohana Parveen. I'm a lecturer in the law school at the University of Birmingham. I've been teaching in the law school for a number of years, and I'm going to talk to you today about my top tips for studying during the month of Ramadan. Now, obviously, either when you're watching this video, we are just approaching the month of Ramadan, or you may well have already entered into the month, inshallah. And I want to talk to you as students as to how best you can ensure that you are able to manage your studies whilst also fulfilling your obligations during Ramadan and fulfilling your ibadah. Now, for me, as a lecturer, obviously I have to balance my work commitments with fasting and all the ibadah that goes along with Ramadan. But also, you know, throughout my life, I've had Ramadan occurring at different periods of my life. So I've been at school when I was fasting, so I've had that those sorts of commitments. I've been at college, I've been at university, I've been in a work environment. I've fasted Ramadan both in summer months and in winter months. So I've had that years of alhamdulillah experience of Ramadan each year at different points in my life and with different commitments in my life. For you guys, I imagine, as well as the studies, you've got lots of other commitments going on in your life as well. But I just want to talk to you about my sort of top 10 tips for you as to how you can balance and manage the commitments that you might have, and in particular the commitments around studying with your Ramadan, in order to be able to maximize this month for yourselves. Okay, so my first tip. Okay, tip number one is to plan your Ramadan and your studies. I think this is actually a really important tip. You ought to take some time to think through what your commitments are over the next month in terms of your work or your studies, and make a list of all the things that you need to do work-wise. And when I say make a list, I would make a list of the things that I absolutely need to do this month. The things that I don't absolutely need to do this month, I would leave to perhaps after Ramadan if you're able to, but certainly the things that you need to do, think through, list them out, identify when you need to get them done by, and then plan them into the month as to when you'll be doing what things. I would strongly advise you not to just leave it to chance, not to just start the month of Ramadan and leave everything to chance, that things will get done as and when needed. In my view, some planning is essential. I do the same with my work commitments. I look at what my work commitments are over the next month and the few weeks after that as well. And I think through, well, what can I do this month? What can I realistically get through this month? What would be reasonable for me to leave until next month, so that I'm able to balance whatever studies I have, whatever work commitments I have, with the fact that I'm going to be fasting throughout this month. Okay, so that's my first tip for you. I'm going to go into a little bit more specifics in terms of that kind of planning. Tip number two then, in particular, I would look at your assessment deadlines. Where do they fall, whether within Ramadan or outside of Ramadan, just after Ramadan? And so how are you going to organize your time and organize yourself around them? I would work backwards. So look at the dates that you've got as far as the assessments are concerned, and what you need to do in terms of by that assessment deadline. Allocate time for each of the assessments that you might have and what you might have to do in relation to, whether it's preparation or it's revision or it's submission of some type of coursework, the work that you might have to do with it. Give yourself time as to how much time you think you're going to be needing for each of those assessments, and allocate some time to it. Then as much as you're able to, try to stick to that allocation. You know, I find personally that the more time I have, the more time I just give myself on things that I need to do. So if you've got a piece of, say for example, a piece of coursework that you think is going to take you around 2 days, allocate yourself 2 days and try to get it done within that 2-day time period in as much as you're able to. You know, this kind of little bit of detailed planning will really help to avoid last minute submissions and last minute disasters, because things can also go wrong. So you allocate your time, and if you give yourself, say if you've got a submission deadline coming up, you allocate the time period a few days, so before that submission deadline is due, so that even if there is any kind of issue, you've got a little bit of flexibility rather than leaving it to chance and leaving it to right to the last minute. It will allow you to pace yourself, and I think that's really, really important in the month of Ramadan, that you pace the work that you're doing, and it'll allow you to work in a way whereby you are not so panicked and last minute. Okay. So tip number 3, amend your daily routine in terms of your study routine and whatever work you routine around your ibadah. You know, everyone knows themselves as to how they work best, whether you're better as a morning person, an afternoon person, an evening person. Even during the month of Ramadan, you might be somebody who's better during the night, to work through the night. I personally am not, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But you know, you generally speaking, you know what kind of routine is your own preference. You also know what the routine of Ramadan is going to involve. So it's going to involve getting up at suhoor time in the early hours. So that's going to break up your sleep pattern. It's going to involve a meal, obviously, in the evening at a set time. It's also going to involve your daily prayers, inshallah. And if you're able to, it's going to involve potentially, you know, Taraweeh prayer and, you know, other acts of worship, so extra recitation of Quran. You know, you're going to have other ibadah that you're going to want to do this month in particular. You know, Ramadan completely, for me, changes how I work. It changes my daytime routine and my evening routine. So I would give it a little bit of thought as to how you work. Obviously, you're going to have some restrictions in how you change your routine, because you're going to have timetables to abide by. You're going to have deadlines to meet. You're going to have classes that you have to attend. So you've got that framework already there. But you know, give it a little bit of thought as to what your study routine is, how best you study, where you're going to put your ibadah in. Now, you don't need to have like a really detailed plan unless that's what you want to do, but you can certainly think through your routine a little bit better. So I know, for example, that I like to fit a nap in during the day. So I usually take that kind of early evening. So I put myself in a little nap time at about, you know, 5ish, so that I can have a nap before I get up in the evening, and I've got cooking to do and, you know, other family member commitments to address. And you may well have a whole host of other family commitments to deal with as well. Just try to think through your daily routine and how you can balance your studies that you know that you've got coming up and the deadlines that you know you've got coming up with your ibadah, and when are you most productive in that. As I said, some people like to study throughout the night because they will open their fast, their iftar, and then read their night prayers or whatever that they want to do, and then stay awake throughout the night and study. And you know, obviously you can still eat and drink during that time period up until suhoor. That's fine if that suits you. That would not suit me. I find that very difficult to stay awake throughout the night. So I ensure that after Taraweeh prayer, I get to sleep for a few hours and then get up at suhoor time, then go back to sleep for an hour or two, then get up again, then work in the daytime, and also take breaks, and then take a nap, and then if I'm able to work in the evening. Often I'm not, but you know, I try and fit it in. You know, be realistic about what your routine would be like. If you're somebody, like for example for myself, I know I can't work during the night, then there's no point in me trying to set it up for myself during the night. So be realistic about when you will work, and how you can manage that routine. And again, speaking from my own personal experience, I think if you're able to do short periods of work outside, you know, your classes and things that you have to attend, but if you're able to do short periods of work, take a break, a short period of work, but in that short period, be focused and do the work. So really think about your study routine. Don't just go along with what you're already doing. Think about what suits you, how you're going to structure your day, so that you do know on each day and what your study routine is going to be like, and try to get into a routine. You know, so much of Ramadan is about our routine and about how we are changing the way we our daily pattern. So include that. You know, don't treat it as two separate things. Your study is one thing and your ibadah is something else. Try to fit in a routine that suits you and maximizes how you study. And bearing that in mind, then the next tip that I have for you, tip 4, is to give everything its time. Now, this is really important. We have so many commitments, not just in the month of Ramadan, but generally, but particularly in the month of Ramadan. We have a lot of commitments that you have to meet. You will have your fast itself, you will have your ibadah, and everybody wants to do extra ibadah during this month. If it's simply that you manage to do your 5 daily prayers, alhamdulillah, if that's as much as you can manage, then do that. If it's that you want to do your daily prayers and include the sunnah prayers, and you want to include any recitation of Quran, and you want to pray Taraweeh, and whatever else you want to do in terms of your ibadah, whatever you do, that's going to be a commitment. So you've got the commitments as far as your ibadah is concerned. You're going to have the commitments in terms of your studies. You're going to potentially have commitments if you're working as well. You might have work commitments. You're going to have commitments towards your family. You might have commitments in terms of things that you have to do at home as well, like cooking or helping, or whatever it might be. So there's be all these different commitments. Try to not take on so much that nothing gets your time. Like whatever gets your time, give it its due. Give your fast and your ibadah and your studies and your family and your rest and your body its due. And I know that sounds like really easy for me to say. I'm in the same position as all you guys in terms of all the commitments that I have as well. But we know that in the month of Ramadan, inshallah, Allah gives us barakah in our time. We manage to fit in so much. We know that barakah is there. So don't be scared of that. Don't take on more than you can manage. I'm not suggesting that you should do that, but don't be scared or overwhelmed by it as well. Just organize yourself, organize your daily routine, so that whatever small things you can do, that you're consistent with that, and that goes for your ibadah as well. Even if it means only a small amount of Quran is read every day, be consistent with what you're doing, and try and pace it so that everything gets its due. What we don't want is the first few days of Ramadan, we race in and do as much as we can, and then in the middle of the month, we're just like really, really tired and struggling. So you want to try and pace yourself, and the way of pacing it is to make sure that you've got your routine organized and you're giving everything its due time. Okay, tip 5 from me then. All of that is obviously going to take up your time, but take a little bit of time out from study and work. Whether that means you're spending time with your family, or it means you spend, quiet time with yourself in terms of reflecting, or you get to spend a bit of time reading your Quran, or whatever it might be, but take a bit of time out from study and work, whether that might be a few hours, or it might be, you save it up for one day a week when you take it off from your studying and work. Everything has to be balanced. Everything has to be in proportion. Nothing should be the case that, there's any one thing overwhelming you. Work and study is part of life, and it's part of what is important, but it's not the be all and end all of your life. And you might think that's strange, me as a lecturer saying that to you, but I'm saying that to you because it's important that you balance it. It's important that you don't overstress yourself and don't become overwhelmed with everything that you need to do. Okay, so take a bit of time out and take a bit of space for reflection. Like I said, Allah Ta'ala gives us barakah in this time, so don't be scared of it. Okay, tip 6 then. Having said all of that, you've got a routine in place. You've got your deadlines to meet. You know what you've got to do on what day. You're keeping up with your routine in terms of whatever ibadah, the extra things that you're doing. I would still say to you, be kind on yourself, because some days fasting is harder than other days. I don't know how you find fasting. I always find fasting hard, and I've fasted in, like I said, in the summer months, and I've fasted in the winter months. I've fasted when the fast opening times have been for the whole month around between 4 and 5 o'clock. Really, really short days. I've still found it difficult. So for me, I always find fasting a physical difficulty. Having said that, I love the month. I'm not going to deny that. I'll come on to that in a moment. But fasting is not an easy thing to do, but it is completely within our capabilities, inshallah, if you have the health for it. And, you know, some days will be harder than other days. So, for example, I know the first few days of Ramadan, I often find I get headaches until I get into a routine of it. And sometimes throughout the month, I might find I get headaches, and there might be some days that some days the fast feels quite easy. I get to the evening thinking, I think that wasn't difficult at all. I had quite a nice day. I didn't feel it. Other days, from the moment I get up in the morning, I can feel a headache, and I'm thinking this is going to be a difficult day. And sometimes it is, and sometimes it isn't. If it turns to be a difficult day for you, a particular day, then just be kind on yourself. That's how it helps to have planned a little bit, so that you've given yourself a little bit of flexibility and leeway, so that if something is a difficult day, you can think, okay, today I've got a quite bad headache, or today I'm finding the fast particularly tiring, so I'm going to give myself a bit of a longer break. Obviously get back into it the next day or whenever you feel better. So you can't take the whole month off like that, but just be kind on yourself, and uh, recognize that some days are more difficult than other days. On the days that are particularly good, do some extra. If you find some days that, I was going to take a rest, but actually I'm feeling pretty okay today, I'm feeling better than I thought I would, then take advantage of that and do something extra on that day. Tip number 7, access the university support services. If you are struggling, if you have a day where there's an assessment on that day and you've had a really bad day with your fast, or for whatever reason you've had difficulties and you need to get support, then access the university support services, whether that's for an EC application, or that's for some sort of additional support that you might need, whatever it might be. Take advantage. That's what the university support services are there for. As well as that, I would say to you, I'm a lecturer in the law school. You'll be able to find my details in the university address book. Feel free to drop me an email. I'll be available throughout this month. If you feel that you need extra support, if you want to just drop me an email, you want to have a chat, I can't advise you, obviously. I don't know what you study. I teach law, so I don't know what else you studied, so I won't be able to advise you specifically on any kind of topic or content or anything that you're studying. But if you want to have a chat about how you're managing and what support I can offer you, I'm more than happy to help you in that regard. But if you do need extra time on things, if you do need to have a extenuating circumstances application put forward, then make sure you access the university support services. That's what they're there for. They're there to help students during difficult periods and during difficulties that they're having. And the university is fully aware of Ramadan taking place this month and the extra pressures that puts on students. Okay. Tip 8. Now, some of you might, between iftar, after you open your fast, and suhoor, might decide that that's the time period that you want to work. If that's the way you work and you're able to manage that's fine. That's up to you. What I would say to you is, hydrate yourself during that time period and don't overeat. And again, I know it's really easy to, once you've opened your fast, particularly if you stay awake through the night, is to continue eating throughout the night, continue having munchies, but try not to overeat. Again, I say this, I'm sure you know this from your own experience, but I say this from my own experience. I know full well when I have a small meal and keep myself hydrated with water, not even with anything else, just with pure water, that's when I am at my best the next day. And I know that from even when I go and I don't know how many people are intended to go and pray Tarawih in a masjid, or whether you're intended to pray at home, but apart from lockdown, in the past I've always prayed my Tarawih in the masjid, and I absolutely know that the evening that I overeat is the evening that I struggle, even in the praying of the Tarawih, and how easy Tarawih is. So therefore, how easy, the rest of what I'm doing is if I don't overeat and I stay hydrated. So between your iftar in the evening and your suhoor the next morning, whatever you do, whether you stay awake or you go to sleep or whatever you do, make sure you hydrate yourself and don't overeat, because that will help you. Okay, tip 9, to be a support from one another. Obviously, Ramadan, on the one hand, it's a month of between you and Allah. It's between your relationship with your creator, and it's what you do in terms of the fast. Nobody else can feel each other's fast. We know that the reward is with Allah for each fast that we undertake, but I can't feel what somebody else feels in terms of what they're fasting. I can certainly empathize, but my hunger pangs are my hunger pangs, and my dryness of my throat is my dryness of my throat. And, that's the same for each one of us. But and this, like I said, this is a month for, my own individual relationship with my Lord. So I think about my own life and reflect on my own things that I want to do, and my relationship with the Quran, and my relationship with my ibadah, and whatever it might be. So in that respect, this month is a month of, for your own spirituality and for your own relationship with your spiritual side. But that's not to say that we're not in this together in terms of the month of Ramadan. I find it absolutely amazing that, during this month, sometimes at suhoor time, I look out of my window and I see other houses in my area with their lights on, and I sort of just smile to myself, think, oh, I can see all the other people who are getting up for suhoor, and we're all at the same time getting up in the morning. And even more amazing to me is the fact that at iftar time, that in the evening, probably within minutes of one another, almost exact same time, everybody in this country who is fasting will be opening their fast at the same moment. And to me, that's it's just such an amazing thing, that whether in this country or all over the world, we're all participating in the same act of ibadah. And so we can be a support to one another, whether it's you as students for one another, or whether it's me as a lecturer to you, is to be supportive of one another. And if that includes us helping each other in terms of provisions of food. I know we're in a lockdown. I know we've got all the kind of restrictions, so obviously abide by all of those, but we can still help each other in providing support to one another. And if somebody's having a particularly bad day, and we can support one another and give each other reminders and comfort, and just generally support. And like I said, I'm available to anybody who wants to get in touch with me. I also know that for many of you, particularly if you're international students, you're likely to be here on your own. And Ramadan in those circumstances can be, a really lonely experience. And so if you do know other students who are on their own, then be supportive in as much as we're able to during this lockdown period, and do this limited way in which we can have face-to-face contact, but we can certainly be supportive in other ways, even if it just means that we contact each other, have a Zoom kind of iftar together. I mean, I did that last year a number of times with my family during Ramadan, when I wasn't able to see them, that we ate together via Zoom, and so at least we saw one another. Okay. And then my last tip to you is it's really not to be overwhelmed by everything that you've got to do, particularly with I know Ramadan can feel a little bit initially a little bit scary, because when we think about the long days and think about all the things that you've got to do, and we're each in lots of different places. I mentioned to you earlier that I've fasted during different periods of my life, when I've been a student, or I've started working as a lecturer. But that's my different work commitments. I've also been fasting in different periods of my life where I've been emotionally, or where I've been spiritually, or where I've been physically. They're different time periods and different mindsets that I've had. And there's times in my life where I have been very I feel like quite distance from my religion, and other times when I feel very, very close. And Ramadan has come at a time where I'm already feeling very much high. But many periods of my life where Ramadan has come at a time where I'm not feeling spiritually very strong, I'm not feeling physically very strong, I'm not feeling emotionally very strong. And this has been a tough year for for many of us, we may have had lost loved ones during this past year in particular, or in previous years. So Ramadan can be difficult for all sorts of reasons. And you might feel like, I don't feel ready for it. I don't feel in the right state of mind. I don't feel like I'm, properly equipped. And all I can say to you is, and this is like from my own life experience, that, Ramadan will meet you wherever you are. The mercy of this month will meet you wherever you are spiritually, wherever you are emotionally, wherever you are in terms of your physical abilities, wherever you are. This is a month of mercy for us all, for every single one of us, not just for the ones who are brilliantly practicing all year. And I'm not putting myself in that category in the slightest, but Ramadan is not for a few Muslims. Ramadan is for each and every one of us, and it will meet you wherever you are. So whatever your commitments, whatever your difficulties, whatever your emotional, spiritual state, embrace the month. And that takes me to my last bonus tip, is to enjoy the month of Ramadan. That sounds like for some people, that might sound like a strange thing to say, because the month has its hardships of fasting in it. And when I was younger, I used to, certainly when I was like a teenager, 13, 14, 15, just starting in those sort of early years of fasting, like fasting for the full month. Like Ramadan would be coming around and I'd be feeling almost like a sense of dread, thinking, oh God, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. How am I going to manage it? As I've got older, I absolutely love the month. I love this month of Ramadan. It is the most spiritually uplifting month, without a doubt. So enjoy that spirituality, enjoy that sense of reflection that you have in this month. Enjoy that time that you're going to give to this month as well. Don't think of it all as just, the hardship of the month. Think of the mercy of the month and the blessings of the month, and enjoy it, because I absolutely, I've come to a point in my life where I absolutely love the month. It's hard, but I absolutely love it. And sometimes, the people ask you about the month, it's often asked in a sense of thinking about the hardships, but there's nothing in this month that is not bearable to us. It's completely within the bounds of what we can bear, both physically and emotionally, and most importantly will be the spirituality of the month. So I hope these tips have been helpful to you. In particular, the things around organizing yourself and structuring your routines and thinking about your commitments and doing what you can in this month, sticking to, as far as your studies are concerned, doing what you can so that you can give the things that you need to do the time study wise, but also you give your fasts and your ibadah the time as well. So I hope it's been helpful to you. And I pray that this month is a month of mercy and a month of barakah for you, and that you come out at the end of this month, inshallah, with a better outlook on life and a better emotional and spiritual state. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.